Those passive aggressive, mean-spirited, judgmental comments say more about you than they do the other person. The universe isn't just out there, it's interacting with you. Claim your power by embracing the unknown. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, and I'm here to ignite your curiosity. Don't just listen, embrace it. I want to make this statement again because it's important. The mean-spirited comments that you make, the judgments that you make, say more about you than it does the other person. It shows us more where your weaknesses are, where you have more work to do. I also think it's important to say that people who have built their life living in a glass house thinking that they don't do anything wrong and they don't have issues in their own relationships, you do. We all do. We all have issues in our relationships. So how do you communicate with the people that you love that these behaviors are not okay? Effective communication is not making passive-aggressive comments. Effective communication is not dancing around a subject and acting like you don't have your own issues. It's interesting when I notice these behaviors coming out. And especially if you are someone who has stayed in the area in which you grew up in. You were born into an area, you stayed there, you built your life there, and people have constructed an opinion, they have constructed their own beliefs in how you act and behave. And people construct their own view of who you are, which isn't necessarily based in anything that's actually true. And when you remain in an area in which you have lived all of your life, a lot of people are unable to outgrow their childhood identity. And unfortunately, that identity continues to grow and manifest because it is based on other people's opinion. And that's why some people really have no desire to ever come back to where they grew up, to their childhood home, to their area, because they know that once they step back into that arena, they automatically are projected upon. That people fall back into this 12-year-old version of them, of how they were mean and how they acted and what they did. And it's really difficult to live in an area where people have these ideas of who you are, and they really have no idea who you are as a person. And what kind of people are we if we hold others to the 12-year-old version and never allow them to grow into the adult and the human that they have? And that says more about you than it does them. If you can't see somebody and you can't approach somebody in a way where you are open to the version that they are right now, that is your issue, not theirs. And who do you think you are making judgmental comments, mean-spirited comments, shaming them and holding them back to a version that they were over 30 years ago? That says more about you than it does them. I was listening to another podcast today, and this is a guy that gives market advice and also advice on life skills and how we show up in the world. He is a little bit older than me, so midlife. And the topic he was talking about today is we are at our midlife. This isn't a time where we can afford to hold on to other people's opinions about who we are, about our choices, about how we show up in the world. And sometimes it's really difficult when you do live in a family and you do live in an area that sees you in a certain way. And no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do and how you show up, people still perceive you in a certain way. As somebody who has just come back from living somewhere else for 5 years, I can honestly say that some people just need to move. Because once you get out into the real world, once you get out of your 50-mile radius, nobody's going to know anything. Nobody's going to have an opinion. Nobody's going to know what happened when you were 12. Nobody cares. Nobody actually cares. You can show up however you want to, and nobody's going to have an opinion. Imagine how freeing that is. Imagine how many of us walk around and we're afraid. We're afraid to do what we really want to do. We're afraid to say what we really want to say. And we have constructed these elaborate personas to try and protect us. Because we do live in a large family. We do live in an area where we are so concerned with what people are going to say that we hold ourselves back, that we hide who we are, that we try to change our core behaviors and our non-negotiables. I don't know about any of you listening, but I know for myself that time is moving faster. I have more life experience probably behind me than I do in front of me. It is becoming crystal clear of where I need to cut people out, to cut people off, to leave people behind. And that is important as well, as some people really want to keep you at a certain place in life. They really want to keep you there because their identity and their version of who you are is so dependent upon this old version of you. And they make mean comments. They make passive aggressive comments because they really need to keep you at that version. That has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you and who you think you are and your ego and how it is dependent upon you being right. I have mentioned before in the podcast that I am somebody who embraces astrology and the star stuff. These next few days are really asking you to let go of something in your life. And it's interesting sometimes is when we have things in our life and we know that we have outgrown them. We feel it, we sense it. Everything about us says we should let the relationship go, let the job go. And it's interesting because we can often fight against that. We can resist that because we know what this uncomfortable familiar is, and the unknown is so scary, and it's our mind can play tricks on us and convince us that the unknown is far worse than the known. And we hesitate, we wait, we don't want to make decisions, we don't want to force anything. But these next few days, July 20th through the 23rd, are going to be days where the universe is going to gently remind you that you are not in control and things can be removed from your life that have outlived their purpose. I have been not so gently reminded these past few months of why people move away and they never come back. They never come back home. They never come back to their families. How can we let these old versions go? How can we let these old beliefs go? How can we just show up in the world and not look at these 12-year-old versions of people and realize that we were all doing the best that we could at that age? And we didn't make the best decisions that we could have, but we made the decision that we knew how to make. Isn't that okay? Isn't that what is enough? It really depends on what side we're each on, because, and as much as we want to believe that we don't have our own judgments and our own opinions, we do. And what side are you falling on? Are you walking around trying to outgrow outdated versions of you? Are you trying to prove yourself to people who never want to see you different? They don't want to see you as a better person. They don't want to see you as an adult. They don't want to see you as you are. And at a certain point, we have to realize, I can't change them. I can't change how they see me. That's their issue. That's their issue to fix. And in those moments, when I try to show up and people don't want to see me as I am, that's my cue. That person is not for me. There are places where I do show up and I am fully accepted and embraced. That's the direction I need to move in. There are places out there in the world that want me to show up just as I am. And I will be surrounded by people who don't make passive aggressive comments, who don't keep coming at me, who don't keep trying to make me small. Stop surrounding yourself with people who want you to be small. Stop surrounding yourself with people who don't want you to show up as you are. And if you're the person that is continually making passive aggressive comments, making mean comments, or judgmental, that is you. You get to look in the mirror and reflect that on you. If you think you're so much better than everybody else, that's your ego. It's not about the other person. It's you. These next few days, I am reflecting on what I value. And oftentimes we oversimplify value and we just associate that with money. But money is just one small part of value. Value shows up in how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. Time is one of the most precious exchanges that we have, because we can always get more resources, we can always get more money. We never can have more time. And so, who do we choose to spend time with? How do we spend our time? That's what I'm going to be reflecting on here these next few days. This is a time of letting go. Those things that upset us, those things that bring us down, that make us feel sad, that we don't feel good about ourselves, this is the time to really just let those go once and for all. It can be really difficult to make the decision to let people go. But this time right now is a crossroads. And there is an opportunity that if something feels difficult, if a relationship, if a job, if something is costing you too much of your personal identity, this is a time where you can move in a different direction and it's going to feel a little easier, a little lighter. How can you actually choose yourself? Choose what's best for you. And let other people's opinions just simply go away. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at More Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.